Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Look Forward. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host, Brad.
Why is it that Donald Trump announces he's running for president and all of a sudden we're back to the hellscape that is the news docket of insanity?
Yeah, buddy, we're back. Not only are we back from our Thanksgiving break, but yeah, like Brad said, it's back to the craziness. Little new studio setup. More like the video outlet, but whatever. We're still in the same spots, but a little bit different. Our heads are bigger. You're welcome. You can sadly see more of us now. The denial is over. But yeah, it is amazing how much I didn't miss this feeling of just, every week is going to be crazy again. And it was like, whatever you think of Joe Biden and the Democrats, what you have to admit is Joe Biden as president had a really calming effect on politics. And it was like, yeah, you had some like flare-up crazies, of course. But for the most part, you could just live your life. Now it's like, oh, really? The ex-president is having dinner with a known white supremacist. That's great. What else? Is there anything else? Oh, a national railway strike is happening? Great. That's awesome. I hope it doesn't destroy the country. And it's just not that the railway strike is Biden's doing or undoing or Trump's, but it's just interesting that the second he's back on the scene, everyone's fucking anxiety is up, right? Yeah. Everything is crazy. All right, let's get into it. There's plenty. Holy shit. So right off the bat, Donald Trump decided to have, was it Thanksgiving dinner or like post Thanksgiving? I don't really remember.
I think it was right after Thanksgiving. I don't think it was on Thanksgiving. Or right before. It was on last Tuesday, apparently.
Last Tuesday. Okay. So right before Turkey Day, he decided that he was going to have a private dinner at Mar-a-Lago. This according to him. I don't believe him, by the way. He was going to have a private dinner with Kanye West. I like to dead name Kanye West because I think he's an asshole. So I know he goes by Ye now.
I also like to dead name Kanye West because he's an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, he goes by Ye. I'm not calling you Ye. Fuck off. Your name is Kanye West. That's your real name. So he was going to have a private dinner with Kanye West at Mar-a-Lago. And apparently Kanye West showed up with a number of other people with him, one of which being Nick Fuentes, who is an unabashed white supremacist. I mean, I guess I would argue basically a neo-Nazi. Like, I mean, maybe he doesn't see himself as officially a neo-Nazi, but I'm
pretty sure he's okay with
that term.
He would probably not like fight too hard against that label. Like, I don't think that he would want to celebrate it, but I don't think he would shy away from it too much. Nick Fuentes is
it's 24
notoriety. Huh?
He's 24.
Well, yeah, it's very confusing. His notoriety confuses me because is the far right really so bereft of influential voices and influential speakers that this kid, and he's a kid, this kid somehow is like among the most prominent of the far right talking heads out there?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't understand.
It is curious. I mean,
understand it.
As I've heard it pointed out, and I think this is a really good point. Trump, like, this does some damage to Trump, and it should do ultimate damage to him, right? It should be like, okay, this guy is fucking unserious, and the people he's surrounding himself are dangerous and psychotic. But what it actually benefits is Nick Fuentes, right? He immediately has his fringe viewpoints, and sadly, they're not as fringe as they probably should be inside the Republican Party. But his still very fringe viewpoints, he has them amplified and somewhat normalized by even being in the room with Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump says in an official statement, "Oh, well, I invited Kanye West, but Nick Fuentes was there.
He was not anti-Semitic at all.
Yeah, he wasn't anti-Semitic during the dinner." Like, what kind of argument is that? Like, was it like
my Kanye wasn't anti-Semitic T-shirt is raising a lot of questions that are answered by the shirt.
Right, exactly.
That's going on there.
Well, and it's funny. It's like the three of us, you, me, and Andy, were talking about that. It was like, was he supposed to come in and be like, "Hey guys, This dinner's good. Those Jews, am I right? Like, okay, so he didn't say that, but like,
Right.
yeah, dude, he's still a bigot. And so he comes in, he has his dinner or whatever, right?
By the way, before we get into this, the reason that Kanye went, like, did you reportedly hear the reason that Kanye went to the dinner and what he asked?
Oh yeah, go for it. Tell the people.
Yeah,
I definitely
apparently Kanye West thought it would be a good idea to go to Mar-a-Lago to tell Donald Trump that Kanye was running for president in 2024, and he wanted Donald Trump to be his vice president on his ticket.
The level of hubris of both of these guys is wild. But for Donald Trump to be someone else's VP is laughable. Like,
yes,
he's going to be the second in command? No. I mean, honestly, it's a better position for him. It requires no work, right? Like,
he can just lob bombs from a podium, basically.
Yeah, it actually, like, him being someone's VP actually would make more sense. But Kanye West as president is also fucking laughable. Are people still? I'm very curious because I know that there are people who are Kanye West fans, like super fans, and they defend everything he does, and he's doing 4-degree chess or whatever. Kanye West is running around with Nick Fuentes, guys. Mm-hmm. What else? What is it that you're waiting to hear that, like, maybe Nick Fuentes is correct? You do know that if Nick Fuentes had his way, Kanye West would be murdered in the streets, right? Like, you're
pretty
aware
much.
of this?
Like Nick Fuentes has been on the record on his show saying that he's like pro segregation. He's like, I don't know why the black people were so upset they had to drink out of a separate water fountain.
Yeah, I heard that.
It's a water fountain. You know what I mean? I'm just like, cool. And Kanye is hanging out with this guy. Like I think he's got some really good ideas. Like, do you? Are you sure? Yeah.
Which ideas have you heard? Right, besides just the run of the mill anti-Semitism thing, right? But look, Kanye's a hotep, right? Like, so there's a possibility that Kanye West thinks that it is a good idea for black people to be segregated from other people, which is weird considering he has like 4 kids with a woman who is not black. Like, seems a bit odd. Like, again, maybe you want to talk to your dinner partner there and ask him what he thinks of interracial marriages and interracial children. Just a question. Why don't you ask him? Just ask him. Like, you cool with it? See if you want to fight Nick Fuentes on video, because I bet you would. After about 5 minutes into that conversation, I bet you would. I know I would. But yeah, that's just me. Look, amplify Nick Fuentes. Even us talking about him is amplifying him to a degree, right? Obviously, we're just a little show, but amplifying him by having dinner with him as being the ex-president of the United States and being the obvious front runner for 2024 for the Republican Party isn't just dangerous, it's also really stupid. Now, I will say this, we have not gotten a full-throated sort of like comment from like the RNC or anybody else being like, this is unacceptable. Now, we have gotten Republicans who have been like, no, dude, this is wildly unacceptable. Mike Pence eventually got out there and said something, which I was shocked about. But I guess not really, because Mike Pence is going to run for president. So he's got to be able to start to get some early jabs in, I suppose.
Mitt Romney and his new awful beard.
Oh, I haven't seen him with a beard.
It's real bad.
Oh, hold for that.
Yeah, a beard does not suit Mitt Romney. Let's put it that way. It might if it was dark, but his facial hair is all gray, so it just doesn't look good.
All right, hold on. All right, these are all a well-shaved mitt here. But are we close to a president with facial hair again?
Man, I hope so. Wouldn't that be awesome?
That's not good. Oh, really, is he okay? He looks awful with a beard. Jesus,
he does. He looks terrible. All those photoshops of Joe Biden with a mustache really makes me think that Joe Biden needs to grow in a mustache, because I think that would look awesome. So
yeah, no, I'm not opposed to a president with a beard. I feel like we're missing out on.
It is weird. We haven't had one since who? Like Taft was like the last president that I think it is Taft. I think so. Yeah. It kind of went out of favor, and then people were just like clean shaven.
Yeah, I need Joe Biden to grow a beard, but I also need him to wear an eye patch. Just because those photoshops are awesome.
So he can look like Big Boss.
Yes, that's what I need. I need him to go by. I need him to go by Big Boss at that point. That's fucking hilarious.
Oh my god! No, you're not going to get a full-throated denouncement of Nick Fuentes from the levers of power in the Republican Party until Trump does a full-throated denouncement of Nick Fuentes, which he's also not going to do because he does not want to alienate that portion of the base. I mean, you even had Kevin McCarthy, because like Kevin McCarthy was questioned by reporters about this, and he's like, "Oh, Trump did denounce him." They're like, "No,
he didn't." Yeah, he straight up lied.
His response to Nick Fuentes was like, "Here's this long, True Social post about like Kanye West," and then at the end, "I do not know Nick Fuentes." Like, that's the level of his denouncement. Yeah,
I am not aware of who that is. By the way, like I said earlier, I think he's lying. I think he absolutely knew that Nick Fuentes was coming. I think he knows who Nick Fuentes is. I don't think he's an idiot. But I don't think he cares at all what Nick.
Well, that's
Fuentes
what I'm saying. Even if he didn't, even if he was true and he didn't know who Nick Fuentes was before, in the wake of this, he could have learned about Nick Fuentes, or someone could have told him about Nick Fuentes, and then he could have come out a couple days later and be like, "Yeah, I didn't know who this guy was. His ideas are abhorrent. Like, I don't want people like him associated with me." Like, and come out with a full-throated statement. But he didn't, because again, the same portion of the base that he needs to come out for him in 2024.
Bingo.
A lot of those people are Nick Fuentes, believe the same things he believes and watch him.
Right. And that's the number one problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is he can't lose white supremacists.
Right.
Because if he loses them, he can't win, right?
Correct.
Look, Nick Fuentes, if you're wondering, like, oh, you guys keep saying that name, like, how terrible is he? I would play a clip, but I'm not going to, because I would not want to sully the show with that dork-ass loser's stupid face.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's just a fucking loser. Like he's just a loser incel guy.
Somehow he's a lamer version of Ben Shapiro.
No, that's accurate.
Yeah,
that's
like
fucking accurate.
Like Ben Shapiro. Like, look, allow me to say a few decent things about Ben Shapiro as a person, right? And I think he is a garbage person anyway. But like Ben Shapiro is at least like married to a woman, like he lives in the world. He's not like, hey, we need to separate the races. I mean, he's got some pretty abhorrent views, obviously, but he's not a fucking like neo-Nazi, right? Like,
right.
And to me, the fact that I have to go, well, Ben Shapiro's not so bad in comparison tells you how bad Nick Fuentes is, right? And again, like, this guy quite literally is an incel. Like, hey, I'm involuntarily celibate. But then he was like, apparently he kissed a girl in high school. How sad is it that, like, that's his claim to fame? But, like, he kissed a girl in high school. But he's like, no, I didn't. So that he can keep himself in the incel community. He said that having sex with women is gay. Yeah. What?
That's what I was about to say.
Is gay? Is like, it's the meme. Like, guys, is it gay to have sex with women? Like, it's the fucking meme.
Quite literally the opposite, but okay.
Yeah. Look, if sleeping with your wife is gay, I'm as gay as it comes. Like, get the fuck out of here. Someone will clip that, and then I will pay dearly for it.
It's gonna be me.
Yeah. It's fine. I don't give a shit. It's gonna be me. That's it. I welcome your hatred. No, but like, what the fuck are we talking about, right? Like, this guy, like you said, says that, big deal, we should, have separate water fountains, and like black people should be on different parts of the country, and Jews should be expelled from the country, and like all of this crazy shit. And he doesn't believe in women's rights and abortion rights, and obviously women's autonomy. Women should wear veils. Like, quite literally, he said that women should wear veils. He's like, we basically need the Taliban rule in the U.S., but for good.
Sharia law, but good was his exact.
What does that mean? What does that mean, dude? What does that mean?
It means the same customs, but Christianity instead of
Islam. Just Catholicism's fucking bullshit, right? Because he's a Catholic, and he says he's obviously like we need to get rid of marriage equality. We need to make sodomy illegal. Look, anybody who even uses the word sodomy is a person you should not respect. Like, you shouldn't.
not in the year 2022,
No.
I would say.
Hey, by the way, Nick, I know you've never had sex with a woman before, but getting a blowjob is sodomy too, from a woman. Oh, hey, again, pro sodomy. Sorry, pro sodomy here. But I'm pro letting people do whatever the fuck they want as long as it's not hurting anyone. And as long as everyone's an adult, I don't care. He also wants teenagers to get married. He wants them to get married as teens and have as many fucking kids as possible. Women should not be in the workplace. Like, these are the things that he believes.
Not him though, because having sex with women is gay. Remember? So
right. Gross. Getting caught while being a transphobe, getting caught watching trans porn on your phone. That's the type of guy Nick Fuentes is, and that actually happened to him. So, for research. I had my pants off, but it was for research. Okay, bro, that's fine.
I can't wait if Trump were to win the presidency in 2024 to create a new cabinet position like Secretary of White Supremacy, and Nick Fuentes can be that guy. So
sure, but I mean, look, this is mask off, right? This is not. Yeah. This is no longer the argument of Donald Trump is. Like, maybe he'll be this type of person, or maybe he won't be this type of person. Now, this is mask off. These are the type of people he thinks is acceptable to meet with. He thinks that it's okay to listen to their ideas. He thinks it's okay to be associated with them. Okay, cool. Got it.
Well, and again, the problem...
Fuck off.
Sorry, I shouldn't say the problem isn't that Trump's meeting with him, because that is a huge part of the problem. But the bigger problem is that this won't impact anything. Like, Mitch McConnell's out here being like, yeah, like this party has no room for anti-Semitism or white supremacy. And then someone asks him, so you would not support Donald Trump then, right? Like, if he ran. And Mitch McConnell, all he could do is just repeat, yeah, the party has no room for, white supremacy or anti-Semitism. Right. Like, he's not going to go out there and blast my name. And again, like, I don't get it. The Republican Party as an organization has had so many opportunities, even since he's been the president, to jettison him. Like, they could have voted to bar him from holding office again during the impeachment trial. They could have fucking unanimously distanced himself from him after January 6th. Like, here, the wake of the midterms is another great example. Like, this dude literally cost you control of the Senate. This guy literally prevented you from having what should have been an easy 20 to 30 seat House majority in the House. This guy cost you, like, Secretary of State races that might have been important around the country, governorships that might have been important, state legislatures that might have been important. All of them were fucking ruined by this loser. This guy who has literally run in 2 presidential elections, technically won one, but got slaughtered in the popular vote, and then got his ass handed to him and lost 2 midterms as the guy that's like the head of your party. Why are you clinging on to his star still? I don't fucking get it, because if you came out in mass and kicked him to the curb, would you suffer some short-term anger from some sections of the base? Sure, but again, they're not going to go out and vote for Democrats. They're not, like, it's not like you're going to lose them to the party.
No, but
to the other party.
No, but I agree with everything you're saying, but I think here's where I think where the gap in your reasonable thought process and madness exists, which is, I think that there is a large contingent of that party that never, let me rephrase that, a large contingent of the Republican Party that voted for Donald Trump in 2016 and in 2020 that never voted before. And
sure. Okay.
I think that they are afraid. They see the demographics as they're shifting, and they are shifting hard away from them. If they kick Donald Trump away and say, like, we are done with you, if they do that in mass, I think they're scared that they're going to lose that 1% to 2% of people, and they're going to be like, you know what? Politics is bullshit. Because those people aren't into politics. They're into Donald Trump. And they're into Donald Trump politics. Like, the only people they support are who Donald Trump says he supports. The only candidate for president they support is Donald Trump. Trump down the line. If Trump is not there, and it's not like, like, if Trump died, those people could be moved over to DeSantis, or they could be moved over to somebody else, right? You might lose a few of them, but because they'd lose interest, right? But if Trump is kicked out of the party or pushed aside in a very deliberate way, I think they're terrified that they could lose probably 1 to maybe 3% of those people. And those people never had an interest in politics before. And so it's easy for them to just go, cool, we're done. I'm going to go back to doing what I was doing before. Republican Party sucks. Democrats suck. I mean, I agree with the Republicans, but I ain't going to stand in line for that shit. I think that's what they're afraid of. I don't think they're so much afraid of, like, losing races and stuff like that. I think they're afraid of just losing that particular population for good. And the way races are running right now, and I think that's going to change over the next couple of years, but the way races are running right now, that 1 to 2% difference is everything. And I think they really can't afford it. But
there's a couple of different ways I feel about this. So number one, if you end up taking some lumps in a cycle or two, oh well, like you reap what you sow. Like this is the consequences of your poor decisions. And so you have to get your teeth kicked in a little bit to realize that you need to reset the party. Number one. Number two, if they went back to being like a normal, like common sense Republican Party, you can still be anti-immigration because we know you're going to love that. You can still, be pro-business and support, tacitly racist policies. You'll get back a lot of these like never Trump Republicans that went away from the party because
that's true.
Because of that are and like as much as they say like, oh, the Republican Party that I knew is dead, blah blah blah. Like they're just waiting for the party to just get back to normal, and then they'll be perfectly happy.
Yep. That's going back. Yeah, you might be able to make up a decent amount, if not all of those people. That's a pretty good calculus. But I think they're terrified that it's not gonna make it up. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that it will or won't.
This is how like all these like grand conspiracies about like the puppet masters in the government and stuff like that. Not the anti-Semite, not the anti-Semite version, but just the general like all politics is so like Machiavellian and stuff like that. That's how it's bullshit. There's no way like some serious Republican wouldn't take a run at Trump, like to try to get him out of the picture,
right?
If that shit was true,
right? And they would never let the party get destroyed in a midterms based on him. They'd be like, all right, that's cool. Let's all move the fucking puppets around, and then none of his candidates get out of the primaries. If it was controlled the way you think it is, it's not like it's not. It's the will of the people vote, and then people go, I don't like that guy. Yeah, sure. There's party politics and stuff like that, but for the most part, no. It's just you vote and then your guy gets in or doesn't get in. That's it, guy or gal. So yeah, I think this is a huge story. I think it's going to get worse. If anybody actually believes that Trump didn't know that Nick Fuentes was coming, then what you also have to believe is that everybody who's a handler for Trump and the people who let people into Mar-a-Lago just let anybody in willy-nilly. And I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. But then again, I mean, they've had like Russian spies there, so who knows?
Yeah. I'm about to say the vetting process isn't so great.
Yeah.
I wonder if he showed them his stash of classified documents that he still is probably holding on to.
Dude, I would not be surprised. If he showed Nick Fuentes like, oh, I got this from the White House, like just to fucking brag on that shit, and it's like, this is stolen shit. Like, bro,
coming out to my wife's grave, you'll have to grab a shovel so we can check out the documents. There's some great letters from President Kim that my best friend,
he loves it. Some love letters. Like, oh, shut up. Yeah. So. Next up, Oath Keepers founder, guilty of sedition in U.S. Capitol attack on January 6th. Oath Keepers founder Stuart Rhodes and another leader of the right-wing group, Kelly Meggs, I believe, were found guilty on Tuesday of seditious conspiracy for the attack on the U.S. Capitol by Donald Trump supporters in an important win for the Justice Department. Look, this is no small feat from the DOJ. This is a big deal. The verdict against Rhodes and 4 co-defendants after 3 days of deliberations by a 12-member jury came in the highest profile trial so far to emerge from the deadly January 6th assault on the U.S. Capitol. Of the 5 people, Rhodes and Meggs were the only ones who got sedition conspiracy. The other 3 were hit with lesser charges, basically like obstructing like government business. All 5 of them were hit with that, but those other 3 were just hit with that. The highest, I think, that government business charge is like the highest is 15 years, and the highest for sedition is 20 years. Frankly, I think that should be longer. Sedition should be longer than 20 years.
You would assume so, but 20 years is still a very long time, and 20 years.
Stuart Rhodes would be dead.
Yeah.
And look, my guess, they haven't hit the sentence yet. My guess is Rhodes gets the whole thing. Rhodes and Meggs get the whole thing. They like you got to take those players off the board, right? Like you can't give them like 4 years, right? Like you can't give any of these guys 4 years because that's enough time to like do the time and then get back in and try to like fuck shit up. You need 20 years to be like, if you survive this, you are so out of touch with the way the world is. Mm-hmm. You can't reform a group. You cannot go back to your old friends. They're all dead or moved on, right? 20 years is enough time for people to have died, people to have changed their lives, people to have moved around, people who have changed political viewpoints, you know what I mean? Like the world can be wildly different. Take them off the board for 20 years. Like, look, as far as I'm concerned, hit everybody with the top line charge or the top line sentence. Those guys get 15. Rhodes and those guys get 20. Now, Rhodes and Meggs get 20. Now, what's interesting is that would be federal prison. There's no appeal. There ain't no appeal system in Fed prison, buddy.
No. Nope.
So, best of luck. That's a wrap for you. So we'll see. We'll see what happens to them. Like, what are your thoughts on this?
Like you said, no small feat. I mean, for fuck's sake, Rachel Maddow just did an entire podcast series about how, the government could not convict literal Nazis right after World War II of sedition, despite overwhelming evidence to the affirmative. And people were worried that you'd see the kind of same thing here because, as you've probably heard some folks make the point, it's hard to charge someone with sedition because, by definition, if you're charging them with it, it means that their attempt failed because the government is still in control, essentially. Right. So, so it's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, if they failed, was it really that serious of an attempt? That kind of like they almost benefit from the failure in terms of not being charged. I think this is great. And it kind of shows, like, the fact that the jury returned this for just Rhodes and Meggs and not for the other people on trial kind of shows that the people that are higher up are going to be the ones that are at the most exposure for this kind of stuff, which, you can agree or disagree. I mean, they're the ones that are pulling the string. So, I guess they should, get hit with the more serious crimes.
Absolutely.
But I mean, that's a good thing. So, and hopefully you can, maybe work out a sentencing arrangement to get him to testify against other people further up the chain. Who knows? So,
yeah. Excuse me. I am of the mindset that I don't want Rhodes to get any less time.
Yeah, that would be nice. I mean, but if he has something serious to offer, like getting a couple of years reduction, I don't think would be too bad. Okay. I mean, apparently,
we'll give you 18.
Yeah, apparently Rhodes was like 1 degree of separation away from getting a meeting with Donald Trump. Essentially. Right?
Yeah, I heard that. So, look, I hope that they throw the book at them. And look, maybe these 3 that got the lesser charges, maybe that's their whole thing. Is maybe they pled and they were just like, here's some other information, right? Like, maybe. So the other point here is that the Proud Boys are starting, like, their trial hasn't come yet. And like, as I heard somebody say, one of the sort of, like legal experts who's been following the trial, who's been in the courtroom, he was saying that, like, this will stiffen the spines of some and weaken the spines of others, right? If you're in the DOJ and you're in like Jack Smith's group, and you're working on this, you're more likely to be like, look, let's not be afraid to really go after these guys, right? If we got sedition charges on these fuckers, maybe we can get it on somebody else, right? Because sedition charges are really difficult to do, right? Historically. The last time in the U.S. we got sedition charges, like actually stuck on somebody, were some of the like World Trade Center, like the 90s World Trade Center bombing guys, right? Like, like they were like, we're going to blow up a bunch of buildings around New York. And they were like, that's cool. You're going to go to prison. And it was like, because they had like real fucking plans and shit like that. So like you have that, but the Proud Boys are also coming up, and those guys are not as hardcore as the Oath Keeper guys. There are a lot of just like beer swilling idiots who like fist fighting liberals for some reason, right? They've got to be a little scared, right? Because the meme online is like, nobody's been convicted of conspiracy or sedition through January 6th. Well, now they fucking have. And those people weren't even there. Like Stuart Rhodes wasn't at the Capitol, but he was directing and doing all this other shit. Now we know for a fact that Terrio from the Proud Boys, he was in contact with Rhodes. And they had a fucking like whatever secret channel that they were talking on, like the Friends of Friends of Stone, the Roger Stone like secret channel that they were running, right? So those guys are now looking at a situation where their buddies just got sedition charges. Best of luck. You ready to you ready to go down for this shit? Because it doesn't seem like the Proud Boys are like that hardcore into like revolution. They're more like, we just want to kind of be the brown shirts. Like that's kind of what they want to do. Like, and that's what's always been really fascinating.
We're about to find out how hardcore they are. So.
Yeah, how tough are you? You ready to hit? You ready to go 20 years, my dude? Like you ready? Because I feel like the Oath Keeper guys are like they were ready. Like I feel like Stuart Rhodes is like, it is what it is. I'm a fucking patriot. Blah blah blah. Try not to shoot my other eye out. Right, like that type of shit. But I don't think the Proud Boys are like that. I think those guys just like, they're a bunch of conservative guys and they think it's really fucking cool. And they're dorks. Just like Nick Fuentes. They're just a bunch of dorks. And they think they sound tough because they drink a lot and they fist fight like college kids. But I don't think they're ready for this. And I'd bet this isn't going to be some like gang shit like, nah, man. Just I'm not selling out my boy. Like I'll do the 20 years. That's not what this is going to be.
Oh, yeah. we've
they're going to sing like
they've
fucking
proven
canaries,
time and time again that there is no honor among thieves.
No, I think those fuckers are going to sing like goddamn canaries. Look, Chris Terrio got in trouble for singing to the police before on other Proud Boys. Like, remember that shit came out after he got like removed from chairman or whatever. They're like, yeah, it turns out this guy was like kind of an informant. So guess what? What do you think's going to happen now when he's facing 20 years for fucking in federal pound me in the ass prison, right? Like this guy is going to sing. Those guys will sing because they do not want to go for this real big boy jail shit. All right, man, look. We're going to see how tough all that rhetoric is in a number of months or weeks or whatever. They're going to be soon. Well, I mean, how I feel is that I was just defending my honor as a patriot. Please don't put me in jail. Donald Trump did it. Like that's what, yeah, those guys are going to fucking sing. And it's going to be hilarious because all that tough talk doesn't mean shit. Yeah. And I'm still mad at them for ruining that War Boys hat because that hat was cool and they ruined it and now I can't buy it. Still mad. I think that might be the thing I'm mad at the Proud Boys the most about.
The most, not involved with the insurrection, but
ruining.
You ruined a perfectly good hat.
Yeah, just solid men's fashion. Like, Jesus, what's wrong with you? So yeah, look, I think those guys are going to go down, but I think they're going to go down singing. Don't be surprised if pay attention to what the context is by which their jail times come, right? Because they're going to get busted for some shit. Whatever that is, I don't know. But if you start to see, oh, well, Chris Terrio only got 3 years or like these guys only got 6 months or whatever, understand that they are singing, dude. They're not letting them walk on nothing. But I got to imagine the DOJ is going to go super fucking hard on those guys because they're not as stalwart as the Oath Keepers guys are. They just
and remember too, if you do take a federal plea deal, not only do you have to plead guilty, like not only do you have to talk about like the stuff you did in relation to this crime, like you have to basically give the feds everything you've ever done in order to take a guilty plea. Like they need to know your entire fucking history before they would allow you to do it, which is famously why wasn't it Bannon tried to plead guilty to somebody but he wouldn't like fully cooperate.
Yeah, he went top to the whole thing.
There was some situation around that. I can't remember what it was specifically.
Yeah. So, no, man. Look, the Oath Keeper's going down. That's great news. Like, ladies and gentlemen, we got him. That's awesome. I'm very curious about what their sentencing is, but I wouldn't be surprised if they try to take them off the board for a good long time. I can't imagine any of them get less than 10 years. I cannot imagine. I can't. Yeah. This is probably my favorite story of the week. I love stories like this because I love a good own goal. Like it is one of my all-time favorite things in politics. Like, we're going to stick it to you. And then you just end up sticking it right to yourself. Like, shit. We didn't read the bylaws of our state. Yeah, it turns out. GOP-controlled Arizona County refuses to certify the election. So, Cochise County in southeastern Arizona. That's a real county name, by the way. Cochise.
That's cool. I mean, if it wasn't for all the right-wing nonsense, it'd be cool to live in Cochise County, probably.
Yeah, hell yeah. Cochise County in southeastern Arizona is deeply, deeply red county. Mm-hmm. And not that anything bad happened in Cochise County, but they heard that bad things happen in other counties in Arizona, like Maricopa County, right? Which is where like actually everyone who lives in Arizona lives. Like everyone lives there. That's where Phoenix is, and there's just desert and tumbleweeds in the rest of the counties, right? So they are like, look, we're not going to certify the election because we feel like there might be some shenanigans happening. Okay, but here's the problem. They had until this past Monday to certify. Like that was the rule. Like you need to fucking certify. Stop fucking around. Let's certify this shit and get moving. Now, both Republican and Democratic controlled counties outside of Cochise County have all certified. Mm-hmm. Right? But Cochise is like, nah, not me. I'm on my own. Because I heard some shit was going down. Right? This is all under the auspices of like Katie Hobbs beating Carrie Lake, right? Carrie Lake is suing and all this other shit. Here's the rub. If they don't certify, they have, Monday was when they were supposed to certify for their county, right? And then December 5th, I believe it is. The state of Arizona has to certify its votes as a state to send up, right? To the federal level. If Cochise County does not certify by December 5th, all of the votes in Cochise County don't count. That's the Arizona law. If you don't make it to that certification date, then they don't count. That entire county, just not that the Democrats' votes count there and the Republicans don't. No, nobody's vote counts. Right? Now, again, Cochise County, deeply red. Here's the problem. If they don't do that, and they're threatening, like, maybe we won't. We'll show you, Democrats. Like, you're not really showing Democrats anything because you're just getting ignored. If they do that, that would threaten to flip the victor in at least two close races that are statewide. a U.S. House seat and a state schools chief seat are both right now won by Republicans. But if you subtract all of Cochise County out of it, because they're counting, like, it's not certified, but they're counting the votes that were tallied there. If you subtract the Republican votes out of those two races, both of those races go to Democrats. So,
I don't get this. I don't like what.
What are you doing? Like, what are you doing?
So again, you're alleging that there's malfeasance elsewhere in the state, not in your county. So by not certifying your county votes, what are you saying? Like what is the thing that you were trying to prove? Because obviously the certification process seems to be going on with or without you. So like, right. Like all you're doing is punching yourself in the dick.
Right. And not only are you punching yourself in the dick, but you're also punching every one of your voters in the dick. Like you're saying, hey, we're going to just disenfranchise everyone in Cochise County. I'm a Democrat or liberal, but like I vote with Democrats. And I'm like, that's not fair to those people. They voted for that person. They voted for Carrie Lake or by the way, there are other representatives in that county. They voted for those people. And you're just saying that doesn't count.
I mean, Republicans have been trying to disenfranchise voters forever. So I mean, this is right in line with their standards and practices. Now, here's my question: for any like county level representatives, how does that work?
I don't know.
If you don't certify, if you don't certify your votes, it's just no one wins those elections at all. Like, there are no votes cast.
Yeah, maybe the incumbents win. Like, what if there's nobody in that particular seat? I don't know.
I'd like to know the answers to those questions as well. So.
But I think that's hilarious. Like, but you're risking this all for Carrie Lake, who lost. She lost,
right.
And she just can't accept that she lost. But it's also like you've got like there are three people in Arizona who are like bitching and complaining about losing, right, or that they didn't lose. Carrie Lake, who's a GOP candidate for governor, backed by Trump. Mark Fincham, who's a candidate for Secretary of State, and then there's one other person, I forget who it is.
The attorney general, whose race is going to
a
recount because it's
a recount, right? Yeah. But that guy, right, like that recount thing, he's losing, right? He was already losing, but he's
losing by like 500 votes, at last count. So.
But he wants the recount thrown out and just appointed to this position. What?
Stop counting the votes and just pick me.
Just pick me. Just I should win.
That's how this works. And that's what's funny, because if these coaches votes get thrown out, then I would think the Democrat in that race would probably waltz to victory at that point. Yeah,
probably
as well.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, what are you doing? You're like, they're quite literally, by believing this big lie of like all these conspiracies of voting irregularities and all this other shit. Or, I mean, there was some shit that went down in Arizona, but it was like they ran out of paper ballots or, stuff like that. And then they got all that stuff like provisional ballots, and they got all that stuff redone, and they sent the stuff in, right? But by believing in the big lie and all these conspiracies, what they've basically done is they've now disenfranchised their own voters, potentially disenfranchising an entire county of voters. Mm-hmm. Katie Hobbs, who is still Secretary of State, I guess, is suing to get them to certify. She's like trying to get those people's votes to fucking count.
Yeah. Because that's what the Secretary of State is supposed to do. Like they're supposed to want.
Yeah, Brian Kemp would have been like, if it was a Democratic county in Georgia with Brian Kemp, he would have been like, just don't certify it. I don't give a shit. I'm trying to win. Like, fuck out of here. Like, this sounds great. But like, if they don't certify, then that makes it even harder for Carrie Lake to quote unquote win. She's already lost, but it would make it impossible for her to win, because then she would lose another county. What? It's like quite literally the best definition of cutting your nose off to spite your face. You would lose.
Politically, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you're losing you might lose like 3, maybe 4 races just to protect somebody who lost. Okay. And then she loses by an even bigger number. What are we even doing? Yeah.
Maybe just stop supporting these idiot candidates.
Yeah. This is definitely.
Don't have your best interest at heart.
No, they don't.
As a people.
No, they really don't. I just find that story to be really, really funny. Just the entire idea of like, no, we're not going to certify. But you realize that will fuck you over. I know, but still, I'm not going to do it out of spite.
Well, I mean, Kari Lake was out here on, I think, Newsmax or something along those lines. Ugh. Basically, like, literally saying, like, I want people to go to jail fighting, to get my race overturned. Not her, mind you. Like, she doesn't want to go to jail, but she wants other people to go to jail fighting for her.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's a true metal spine that is inserted in Gary Lake's back. What a fucking joke. Speaking of a joke, the RNC brought to you by MyPillow. Mike Lindell, the MyPillow guy, is saying that he is going to run against Ronna McDaniel, or is it Ronna McDaniel?
It is Ronna McDaniel.
Yeah, Ronna McDaniel.
Yes. Nay, Ronna Romney McDaniel until that offended Donald Trump. So
can't say that, Brad. That's offensive. Don't say her name. He's going to run against her to run the RNC. Mike Lindell.
I love it.
I
Speaking of losers, like speaking of tremendous losers. So like, should Ronna McDaniel be challenged as RNC leader? Yes. Like she's been head of the RNC for 3 election cycles. The Republicans have gotten their clocks cleaned for all 3 of them.
Yeah. Look, I'm just confused. Like I'm legitimately confused as to what is the logic here of that absolute psychopath running. Like, who's voting for him? Who's voting for him?
Because the RNC is not focused on the issues they need to be focused on, Jay. Clearly, they are not doing enough to combat election fraud. Clearly, they're not doing enough to push the big lie forward. Mike Lindell has proof, Jay. He's told everyone how much proof he has of election fraud, and people just won't look at it. They just refuse to look at it. But he's like his pillow factory is bursting with proof. Like he has so much proof, he's shredding it to stuff into his pillows that go out. If you buy a MyPillow, you can get some election fraud proof.
Dude, you're gonna
free with your pillow.
Dude, I'm gonna fucking choke to death. That's hilarious.
Please.
Well, now hold on.
If they're
now hold on a second, Brad, because I feel like we're being slightly mean to Mike Lindell, which is cool. I have no problem with that necessarily. I just want to say that out loud. The fact that it's not a completely impossible thing for Mike Lindell to win the RNC chairmanship is insane. It is insane. Mike Lindell is a crazy person. Like
he is.
He's quite literally a crazy person. What are we fucking doing here? Like it's just.
By the way, do you find it also not coincidental that the same week that Mike Lindell's like, I'm going to be RNC chair, is the same week where someone on Twitter's like, is crack that bad actually? Like, I don't know that it is.
You know, it's funny that you say that, Brad. It's really funny that you say that. This is Mike Lindell's book cover.
Yes.
This is not made up. I'm not making this up. I'm not being rude. Mike Lindell's book cover, as you can see if you're watching video, is What Are the Odds from Crack Addict to CEO? That's the name of the book. He's a crackhead. Like a former crackhead. That's true. That's a real book.
Yeah.
My God. He put Crack Addict on the cover of his book. That's awesome. It's in the title. Can you imagine? By the way, that's how awesome it is to be white in America. Can you imagine a black person putting out a book going, "Hey man, used to be a crack addict," and people are just like, "Yeah, no, that's reasonable. We follow that guy."
I mean, if you were to believe, politicians in the '80s, black people were the only people doing crack. Apparently, that was a lie.
Yeah, turns out. People lying about black people, shockingness in America. But yeah, like from crack addict to CEO, that's amazing.
I don't know what we can do to help, but if there's anything that we can do to make Mike Lindell the chair of the RNC,
oh come on.
I say we do it.
Come on, like there's no end to my efforts to make this happen. I will buy a MyPillow. I bet they're quite comfortable. I feel like the guy knows pillows. He doesn't know shit about anything else, but he knows pillows. Can you even buy them in stores anymore?
I think. Well, that's a good question. Actually, I don't know if you can.
Everyone's like, we're not carrying that crazy person's.
Yeah,
carrying that crazy person's shit.
I mean, it's such a good pillow. It's like the sole advertiser on Tucker Carlson at this point.
Yeah, no, it's the only.
That's why.
This is the only advertisers I can afford. That's all he's got. It's like MyPillow and like commemorative plates with like bears
MyPillow
wearing
commemorative plates, and then just endless ads for Fox Nation. Like that's all it is. Fox advertising themselves. We're buying our own ad space.
They're really just eating them. They're really just eating themselves for that hour that he's on TV. It's fucking hilarious. But yeah, there's not a zero. There is a more than 0% chance that he could win. Right? Yeah. It's unlikely.
And please let it happen. I would love them to waste endless amounts of money to find election fraud that doesn't actually exist, instead of actually, using that money to get Republican candidates in purple areas that they need to take control of government.
Look, here's the thing. Let's get real. If Mike Lindell, let us whisper of a dream, if Mike Lindell became the RNC chair, yeah, they would do those things. But like, I do think he would. I think he's probably smart enough. Just go with me. I'm going to be obnoxious. Don't worry. I'll get there. I think he's smart enough to put, to work to get some candidates in like these purple areas or whatever. I just think that they'll all be fucking lunatics, because who Mike Lindell decides are these are the people that we're going to back are going to be mini Mike Lindells. They're all going to be big lie guys. They're all going to be the craziest of the crazies, like all of that. By all means, I welcome this. I don't hate this idea at all. I love it.
I would also love him. He would try to like rescind like the Republican Party label for like guys like Mitt Romney and Adam Kinzinger and things like that.
100%.
Like your Republican bona fides have been revoked. I'm like, I don't think you can just do that. You can't can't decide they're not in the party anymore.
He's like, oh, this pillow says that I can, right? Like all right. Like I want him to come out with he has a pillow. Like I want him to go like full gimmick, like wrestling gimmick. Mm-hmm. Like he has a pillow that he talks to. That's like it has a face on it. It's just like it's like Mr. Hat from South Park or like Wilson from fucking Castaway. Like he's like, oh, what's that? What's that? Oh, Liz Cheney is a Republican? I don't think so, Mr. Pillow. Like, it's just like have a full on conversation. Like solid 90s, mankind talking to the hand type of like bullshit that Vince McMahon would come up with, right? Like just stupid shit. Also, that guy looks like Paul Bearer. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Paul Bearer had more charisma. Definitely.
Smarter. Oh, way more charisma than Mike Lindell. Like Mike Lindell, like when he talks, like it's at the same monotone, but it's like incredibly loud. Like it's just like
he has voice modulation issues.
Yes.
I cannot stop the tenor of my voice. That dude is fucking weird. By the way, I'm just going out on a limb here. That dude is back on the fucking sauce. Okay? Like, dude, you cannot tell me that guy's not back on crack. Like during this whole thing, that guy's been sober. What was he like on crack then? Like, what the fuck was he like? If this is him totally sober, there's no way him on crack is something I need to see. I need to see it. Does anyone have footage? Is there any footage out there? Come on. Somebody's got it. He's been rich enough for a long time. Come on, man. That shit's amazing, though. All right, dude. Like, run. By all means. Like, don't let us get in your way. I need you to go. Next up, DOJ wants all transcripts and evidence in the House January 6th probe, says Merrick Garland. This is bound to happen.
I mean, at this point, they'll get it, right? Like, because
it's almost
going to be ending soon. Yeah.
Look, my guess is that is simply to just take and give that shit right to Jack Smith. Yeah. Here you go, buddy. Enjoy.
By the way, I don't want to get like thrown in the Mueller trap again. But if they were gonna appoint a special counsel with that, which I don't necessarily agree with that decision. I understand why they're doing it, but I don't necessarily agree that they should have done it. But if you're going to do it, getting the most Joe Friday ass looking motherfucker to be that guy, I think is a huge point when in the column there.
Yes. He also looks mean, which I just appreciate. He just does.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's working at the Hague, for God's sake. Like, yeah. Now this guy's not about bullshit. Look, I agree with you. I'm not going to get into the get pulled into the Mueller thing. And look, I honestly think that wasn't Mueller's fault. Mm-hmm. Mueller sent up his documents, and then they just were like, no, don't worry, everything in it was fine. And then it comes out like, no, that's not what he wrote. Like, that part wasn't it. But his biggest thing, and this wasn't Robert Mueller's fault, but his biggest thing is he didn't have a commanding voice. He just didn't. And it was like, oh, hey, guy. Like, he had like an old shaky man's voice instead of like what we all assumed was like the voice of God. Like, you're going to prison. Like, oh shit. Like, maybe I am. And that hurt him. Like, publicly it hurt him. And it's not his fault. Like, this is what the guy fucking sounds like. But I don't know what Jack Smith sounds like, but I need him to sound like a guy like, oh shit, God is Like, hello, Margaret, it's me, God, right? Like, I need that to be like, I need when he shows up, it to put fear in the fucking hearts of these guys. And look, you don't work on The Hague for nothing, right? This guy likes that kind of work, and it's detailed work, and it's no bullshit work. So we'll see. I think he's a pretty serious fucking guy. What I'm hoping is that, again, the case of getting the Oath Keepers on sedition, he feels like he hears that and goes, all right, like we got field to play on. So like, let's go to work. Because if you can look at that case and be like, look, these guys were sedition conspiracists. All you need to do is connect them to the White House team. That's it. And it's not that fucking far. It really, really isn't. I mean, you don't have Rhodes talking to Trump, as far as we know. But it's probably
at least not directly. Like certainly, we don't know if he's possibly speaking to an intermediary.
Right. But I think there's a good chance that all of this, like January 6th probe shit, all that is like just wrap that shit up and mail it over to Jack Smith. He's got it. So I don't think the DOJ is fucking around anymore, man. And that's a good thing. It's good that Biden is still president. It's good that we still hold the Senate to kind of keep these things insulated and let them still do their work. I'm still not convinced that Trump will ever do any like jail time, but I am convinced now that he will be indicted. I think he will be. I think he will be indicted. I think that's. I would argue, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I would argue it's pretty much a foregone conclusion at this point.
Man, I'd like to believe it, but I feel like we've had the rug pulled out from under us so many times with this shit. Yeah. And again, like I understand why they're doing it, and I understand like they want to adhere to norms and practices, standards and norms, and they want to, it's not enough to just do right. Like you need the appearance of doing right as well, and that's ultimately why Jack Smith was brought on, is because that way the DOJ can step out of that decision to indict and say, look, like we're not putting our thumb on the scale, like it's not a political thing, like we handed it to this independent guy. He's making the decision based on the evidence, and then we'll carry forth from there.
Right.
But I find it unnecessary. Like I think that we've seen enough at this point, especially, and that takes us back to the January 6th thing. Because again, like they're just going to get more evidence and more statements and more information and possibly corroborate a lot of things that they're aware of already. Through different testimonies and stuff like that. So, and the January 6th committee still doing their thing. Like Kellyanne Conway met with them this week, apparently, for 5 hours.
Yeah, Ornato.
Yeah, Ornato. Yeah,
Tony Ornato met with them for like 7 hours, I think.
Yeah,
like no small feat. So, okay, like we'll see. We'll see what happens. But
yeah, for a committee that's winding down, like they sure are still doing a lot of shit. So
right, they're still on the fucking fact finding mission, which is like fucking crazy.
They got 5 weeks to get it square, and get a report out there.
Yep, and I think they'll do fine. I do, and knowing that the DOJ is going to pick up right where they left off, it's going to be fucking hilarious. Because the DOJ's got at least another 2 years, so
correct.
And look, if Trump is indicted, will that stop him from running for president?
I don't think it'll stop him. I'm hoping that it'll just turn off more voters from voting for him. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Look, I think that the Republican Party, I think the voters are done with him. I think they are.
I think the midterms pretty much prove that in a lot of regards. So
yeah, I mean, look, he wasn't technically on the ballot, but he was on the ballot, right? He was in the ballot in a bunch of races, and in a bunch of races he fucking lost, right? I think that he is in for a very rude awakening in those primaries. And what's going to be interesting is how does the Republican Party and Republican voters deal with Trump when Trump says that those elections in the primaries are rigged?
Here's an interesting thing. Maybe they're really hoping that he does get indicted because he might not have time to worry about that stuff if he has to mount a criminal defense against insurrection.
Right. So. But you know what I mean, right? Like when those primaries come up and DeSantis wins a bunch of races, and he will, like, is it rigged then? Or no, it's not rigged. Because there's
it's rigged if I lose and legit if I win. Like that's the MO basically.
Yeah. There are only two options: I win or you
As
lose.
I win, tails you lose. Yeah,
Exactly.
Basically what it is. Huh?
So, if that happens, like, what does the Republican Party do? Right? Because it's easy to say, "Oh, it's rigged. Democrats are cheaters." Is rigged that DeSantis is a cheater? Okay, it's rigged that whoever else might be a viable candidate, not Larry Hogan. Is it going to be rigged then?
I like how you're
right, because
like
Carrie, by the way, Carrie
pontificating.
Lake is saying that in Arizona,
right?
The Republicans control the fucking the voting in Maricopa, and she's like, no, this is all bullshit. It sucks. And they're like, yeah, but they're Republicans. She's like, yeah, no, the Republicans are corrupt. So the Republicans let the Democrat win? Like, I'm confused. What are you saying? It doesn't, because it doesn't work.
I like how you're pontificating like it's going to be some like highbrow thing when all it's going to be is the same bullshit as normal. It's going to be some mealy mouth statement where they, in a roundabout way, talk shit on Trump, but they don't mention him by name. And they just kind of talk around it instead of actually like being direct and saying what needs to be said.
Probably, yeah, you're probably right. but in the direct conversation, I'm wondering like, how do you reconcile that? How do Republican voters reconcile, like, if you're a Trump guy and you start to see him losing in the primaries, do you then go against your entire party? And if you do, because the answer is yes, right? Mm-hmm. But when you do, and Trump eventually, let's say he loses the primary, which I think maybe he does. At this point, I don't know. Maybe let's say he does lose the primary to a person you said was cheating. Mm-hmm. Do you just leave and just not fight for DeSantis or whoever against the Democrats, or do you go, nah, they cheated, fuck them? Like because they've created a scenario that's a no win for them in the primary. Right. It's a literal no win. Trump has to win the primary, or it's rigged. And if it's rigged, people are going to stay home in the general.
These are questions I will love for them to have to reckon with in, August, September, October of 2024.
No, I think that there is a decent chance that if Trump loses the primary, what you are going to see is the same exact situation. Like this situation that I'm going to mention is a microcosm of what we're going to see in 2024, which is Georgia, where he was just like, hey man, my guys lost, I lost, or I lost the race. I don't really give a shit. You shouldn't even vote. You guys shouldn't even vote. Don't even worry about it. And then they lost 2 fucking seats. I think that's what you're going to end up having. And then Republicans are going to get not only lose the presidency because he fucked them, they're also going to lose other races because of it. Mm-hmm. Again, these are all questions that I have, and I agree with you. I can't wait to see them deal with it. Heads I win, tails you lose. So
again, should have just fucking nipped this in the bud during impeachment, but you didn't.
Which one, Brad? Which one?
At least the second one.
Yeah, the second one would have been easy. Easy. Oh,
after
January 6th.
The insurrection. Like, you don't even have to throw him out of office, but you just have to be like, hey, this guy can't hold office anymore. Yeah. That's it.
And they couldn't even do that. Okay, that's the end of the free portion for this week's episode of Look Forward. Make sure you go to lookforwardshow.com/premium. Sign up for premium content. It's only $5 a month or $50